good afternoon. Wherever you might find yourself or whatever might be quite apt, we welcome you to another Chronicles of Darkness game. To be more precise, Vampire the Requiem for London. This scene will be picking off shortly after the scene in the Elysium, where a member of the Carthians and a member of the Invictus were about to either drop hands, or to be more precise, one pushed the other one out of Elysium to drop hands. Now, with this situation having calmed down a bit, and also some of the non-Ordo having left the Elysium, two kindred find themselves oddly standing beside each other. Two kindred who don't know each other well yet. And it is at this scene that we zoom in to Nikolai and Marcus, looking a bit awkward at each other.
Well, that was certainly a thing.
Phew, you can say that again.
Well, that was certainly a thing.
That was a figure of speech, you troll.
Gives a sideways smile.
But yeah, anyway, I don't think we really had a proper opportunity to introduce ourselves. Marcus Irons, member of the Order Dracul, unsworn.
Nikolai
He offers a hand.
takes it. Nikolai. Everything else is pretty much the same.
Fair enough. Have it your way. Say,
Ditto on the board of Dracul, unsworn, all that stuff.
okay. Fair enough. And he looks at the watch. Would you fancy... Well, I don't know if you've got anything else to do tonight, but if you wish, we could go and have a chat. You know, something a bit more private, from dragon to dragon.
Well, raises his eyebrow.
Yeah.
Sure. This should be interesting.
And he looks, yeah, we're in luck. One of my favorite places should still be open, at least for, yeah, at least an hour or two.
Gestures for you to lead the way.
Excellent. Follow me. And with that, he'll lead you out, and they will be grabbing the underground, the tube, and it won't take too long until you find yourself in front of the entrance of the British Museum. Luckily enough, tonight it is open until 11 p.m. So there's actually some time left. He gestures. Shall we go inside? The entry is free.
Raises an eyebrow. Here I thought you were proposing a bar. Then starts heading up the steps.
Fair enough. You make your way into the British Museum. Its great venerable halls, not quite as packed as it would be during the day, but there are at least a healthy amount of people milling about, looking at exhibitions. You hear quite the variety of languages around. and he will gesture to the Assyrian section, the Mesopotamian to be precise, where in a side corridor you'll find mounted on the walls reliefs depicting a lion hunt. There are several comfortable ottomans and sofas there, and surprisingly, it seems to be one of the least visited parts of the museum, for whatever reason.
Looks around.
The reliefs are very nicely done. Everywhere there are placards with information, with what is being depicted. It's definitely one of the quieter parts of the museum.
Is this one of our places?
Technically we're in the Lancea Sanctum territory, but nobody has ever bothered me here.
Very well.
It's a museum, for crying out loud.
And as he says that, he's just going to... Actually, no, I'm not going to bother activating that. He's going to just simply give a small shrug and said, okay. So, shall we do the whole pleasantry thing? Or was there something particular you would like to ask me?
Well, I was curious. I can't remember having seen your face at the other Elysia, so I wanted to find out a little bit more about you. You know,
I am new to the city.
as am I. I've only been here for not quite a month.
I see. Then we are in the same boat in that regard.
Yes, one could say so. So, please.
I am new to the city, to this way of life. Well, in some ways I am.
Fair enough. I haven't even been a kindred for one winter yet. So yeah, I'm also pretty new to this whole jazz.
I see.
Yeah. And as the harpy pointed out so poignantly, probably hoping to get a rise out of me, how goddamn predictable. Yes, I actually am of Clan Ventru. I'm probably the least stereotypical member of the clan that I've come across. And he just chuckles.
William McKett.
I had my suspicions, but thank you for clarifying them.
It suits me better than my original potential clan, I think.
Well, I had plenty of gangrel who said that it was a darn shame I didn't end up in their ranks. as if we tend to get a choice in such matters.
You did not?
Oh, absolutely not. Damn fucker who turned me killed my best mate in front of my eyes.
Interesting.
it was rather infuriating, is what I would say, but I guess you could
This
say
is true
so.
too. Comrades are important things. I am sorry, I'm not that. I was never that well versed in that well disposed to the social pleasantries.
It's fine. They are not my strong suit either.
Perhaps it was why my original mistress never chose to turn me.
Who knows? Oh
In
well,
this shrug.
yeah. But yes, it can get pretty crazy pretty quickly, I have to say.
I must ask, why did you choose the Ordo?
And he strokes his beard thoughtfully. The main reason is quite simple. The Invictors are all about getting their hands on that sweet, sweet temporal power. You know, getting people under their control, contracts, blackmail, the usual. The Carthians are interested in getting their revolution come hell or high water, but not really addressing the fundamental things that plague our state. The Lancea and the Crone, I personally think they focus a little bit too much on the transcendent, but they are still ignoring the individual. And then you have the Ordo, instead of just lying down and say, oh, woe is me, or oh, I'm so cursed, or this is God's will. We actually sit down, think, and try to do something about it. That's why I chose them. Because we are actually looking for answers and solutions to problems that vex our kind for, as far as I've been able to find out, basically since the dawn of time, apparently. I am very sick and tired of the fact that a small fire causes such discomfort to me.
If this, so I take it that you are of the mystery of the awakened, then? Or sorry, he meant to not say awakened. The mystery of the ascension.
Marcus holds up a finger as he takes a very little bit of powdered chalk and just throws it in the different corners. None of the powder settling on any hidden figures. At which point he nods, happily enough. Comes back, sits down.
Was that to reveal someone under obfuscation?
Correct, soldier.
But that would not work. Obfuscation is the art of making you forget, not of bending light.
Good to know. Thank you for the info.
This
So
is
it's a
basic
mental
stuff.
effect.
This is basic knowledge. most for our kind. You seem new enough. For our kind, our abilities fall into two different categories.
He sits down and produces his notebook. Please continue.
An enhancement of the body, or a manipulation of the mind. And you're noticing that he seems to know a lot, even though he's admitted that he's only a couple months been a vampire, only a couple months.
Fascinating.
Take for example, Dominate, Majesty, and Nightmare. They are all the manipulation of another person's mind, their ideas, their policies, their beliefs, their emotions. Protean resilience, vigor, and what's the English word? Celerity. All are of the enhancing the body in some way.
True.
Even aspects, which is the strangest of our kind's ability, is the ability of enhancing one's own mind and being able to tap into untold sections of our own mind. Obfuscation is all about that little idea of forgetting. These are all basic things. There's obfuscation, like I said,
is not bending light. It is making people forget that you were there in the first place.
Why?
Oh well, let's just say my sire didn't get much of a chance to finish my education. I absconded.
Well, he sounded like a right dick.
Oh, he totally was. As far as I'm concerned, he can eat a whole bag of them.
Invictus, then.
Aye.
Woe to us who have Invictus sires.
And woe to us who have Invictus sires that have obviously lost their mind.
Gives a small shrug. Though I do not know about mine yet.
It's fine. So far he hasn't actively come after me, and if he is smart, he won't even try to do that. But yes, I simply have got the task of filling up the holes that are left, and you, good sir, just helped fill up a few. Thank you.
I have made it a profession of studying the kin.
I have to say, if I didn't know better, well, actually, you've just said it, so there we go. You're definitely more knowledgeable on this than I am. Heck, I didn't even know what a revenant was until I ended up in my first Elysium. I do now, though, and it's a horrifying prospect.
Well, better a revenant than Durgar, as I always say. But still, I believe I was asking you what your mystery was.
Alas, it isn't what you guessed. And he writes something down on a piece of paper, carefully rips it out of his notebook, folds it, and hands it over to you.
All right. So, Nikolai's going to take it, gently unfold the paper, making sure to sort of cup it in his hands.
Yeah, that only he can see.
Yeah. And look.
Okay. On the piece of paper stands in plain old English, Voivode. And beneath, please destroy instantly.
He's going to nod slowly, then tear the paper up, putting pieces, as he's tearing, putting pieces into his pockets, like he's going to, and then tossing some of the pieces into a nearby trash can.
Yep. So that not all of it is in one place.
Yes.
Marcus just gives him a very approving look.
Flame would be better for this, but and leaves a statement hanging.
Yeah. Ah, well. Not right now, but we can take care of that a little later.
Though there is a common trick of water dissolvable paper.
I'll have to look into it.
Furthermore, if you would like to pass notes, I would suggest looking into ciphers.
And at the mention of ciphers, Marcus just cracks a big toothy grin. Oh, I'm already on it. I'm actually creating a slightly unusual one. Used to come up with them all the time when I was a kid.
Gives a wide smile and goes, This is a good thing.
Yeah.
Especially if you are to take my advice. Scatter your notes when you pass them along with nonsensical notes. And add another cipher on top to identify the nonsensical ones with the versus the real ones. That way,
Marcus is taking notes very diligently, and knowing your guy, he'll probably have good perception, And he'll see that the notes are written in shorthand.
That way, the ciphers, should bulk of your information be stolen, they will first have to identify what is real notes versus old simple nonsense. Simply put, it will throw off any decoding attempts. Out of character, what I'm saying is, so if you have like every 3 pages be just nonsense pages,
Yep.
when they originally tried to decode, or not even every 3 pages, but random pages scattered throughout be nonsense pages. If you're like writing a manifesto or something,
Yep.
or something like notes, have like every couple of words be nonsense words, but have a way of figuring out a way of having others be able to identify the nonsense word, like your guys identify the nonsense words. Anyone
Yeah.
who tries to decode your message, like using
In other
cryptogram,
words, it's a red herring to
yeah,
distract from the actual message.
it's more a red herring because when you're trying to decode like a cipher,
Yep.
you're looking for patterns, and
Yep.
this throws off all patterns.
Excellent. No, this is really excellent advice. I'll see that I can build it in. Very good. But yes, out of curiosity, Nikolai, have you already presented yourself to the prince?
Yes.
Excellent. So that's already taken care of. Good. Don't worry. Same thing here. That was also the first Elysium I got to witness.
Wasn't my
so.
first. But that's besides the point.
I won't push you for information that you don't want to give out. He smiles.
He nods in appreciation and grins and gives a mischief grin and says, "But when I arrived here, my sire made sure to introduce me soon after my turning."
I see. Good. Fair enough. So that's taken care of. May I inquire of which mystery you are? And as he says that, he hands him a piece of paper.
He hands back a piece of torn paper. The same.
He just nods. Ah, good, good. Maybe at some points we should compare notes.
Perhaps.
Or, if nothing else, we could do a little bit of peer reviewing. At least I think that is the term.
That is the term.
Pardon me, my background isn't terribly academic. I was in the armed forces for a good time before something else happened, and I was then embraced.
Ah, the full government man. I was. How would you call it in English? I was a pencil pusher.
Well, need them too. Somebody has to keep the paperwork flowing, the info going. Somebody has to do the mundane work in the background. Not everyone can parachute their way into the battlefield.
Parachute gun? No. I can barely hold a gun.
Well. If you ever wish a little bit of training or tutelage in that direction, let me know.
Gives a small wave the hand and says, "Perhaps. I find it better to go unnoticed in those sorts of fields."
Ah, well, I try to, but I don't have quite the luxury of using obfuscation. And he just grins.
Well, there is a way of teaching you if you're willing to risk it.
Oh? He raises an eyebrow. Pray tell.
Actually, I need to double check that before I go into that. But
Okay.
because hold up. Let me just double check the information.
Go for it.
I know that at least for the more unique disciplines of the clans,
Let me guess. The mental ones.
the
Mostly.
mental ones, they are transferred by blood, of course.
Aha. And of course, all the risks that come with it.
Of course.
Oh, well, it wouldn't be worth something if. Well, it wouldn't have worth if it didn't have some cost now, would it?
Of course.
You couldn't happen to elaborate a little bit more?
With the mental ones, it is like with ghouls. You transfer with a drop of blood, a drink of a sip may you may access to gain potential of one of the disciplines. It still takes training and time, but with it you may yet access, with a little extra work, a discipline not of your clan.
Interesting.
By the way, you noticed this entire time he's been watching all the exits or entrances. Like, he'll keep looking at you, but his eyes keeps flicking to them.
Funnily enough, not quite as often as Nikolai does, but I would say like every 30 seconds, Marcus's eyes definitely flit. They are in a cul-de-sac, so also his eyes flit to the exit, remain there for 1-2 seconds, and then come back.
Right.
So it's obvious to both that both of them are keeping an eye out.
Yep.
Interesting. That, of course, would mean that. Okay, yeah. This leads credence to the theory that the different variety of curses are probably still offshoots, subsects, or subspecies, if you want, of a. Yeah, of course. And he starts noting down some more further things. Okay, this of course is no proof. This could be causation and not originating from, but blah. Okay, interesting. Yeah. Well,
You're thinking about this too hard. The curse, the blessing, whatever you may want to call it. It's
our
quite
condition.
simple. Condition. He says after a pause, he says, or condition. The best way to think of it is the magic within the blood is all based off the same supernatural substrate. Most likely, all the curse structures for the originating clans are from the same spell, but with slight variations within the actual magical, metaphysical plane that binds us.
Yeah, the closest analog I can find, at least in the cultural memory, for what we are able to do could be described as blood sorcery, for the lack of better terminology, of course.
Of course.
But yes, it's interesting. Recently, I heard a tale that the Gangrel tell about their origins. And it's very interesting how in this tale there is a strong hinting that Ventrue and Gangrel might share a common ancestor. At this point, purely hypothetical, of course.
Of course.
But it is interesting that we share a certain amount of overlap. At least we venture with the Gangrel, as loathed as they are to accept it.
The Gangrel and the Ventrue is true, have a very close relationship compared to many of the other of our variety.
Yeah.
The other third clans have enough separation to suggest otherwise. But tell me, have you... I know you quite... Or, tell me, what are your plans exactly for this city?
Well, you know what? This information that I'm going to give you is not something that you couldn't easily ask others or find out for yourself. So, I'll save you the trouble. As you know, I was in the military, came out of it, part of a certain unit that, since currently I still count as, alive, kicking and breathing and being Her Majesty's loyal subject and everything, I can't talk about. But after that, after a while trying to get back into civilian life, let's just say things didn't pan out quite as well, and I ended up on the streets. So, different than to a lot of other Ventrue, I am not starting halfway up the ladder or even a first quarter. I am literally at the bottom. So Just take Maslow's hierarchy of needs, look at it, and I'm just trying to tick off the basics so that later I can dedicate myself to more complex plans. But what good is it for me to smith plans about the city until I've got myself established to a certain degree? So currently those are my plans. Join the local order proper. Have a look in at the different sworn factions. Establishing a base, establishing resources, establishing a big enough herd, basic stuff. And who knows? Although this is currently more a vague idea in the back of my head, once I've got myself a bit established, I might like to concentrate my attention on a certain borough, a certain territory we ought possess in this city, at least officially, if not de facto.
Oh,
Kingston upon Thames. I was recently there. Yes, I was recently there. Nominally, it's an Autodracool territory. Not the most heavily populated area, but it has got a big deer park in the vicinity, good connections to the River Thames for transport. It's a decent enough tourist site, and in my opinion, the fact that the Carthians are squatting in big enough numbers there that they basically think they own the place is disconcerting to me, because it portrays weakness if the Order does nothing about it. But before I can do anything there, I have to find out what our official policy is. Wouldn't want to go and piss off the Kogayon before I've been able to ingratiate myself a bit.
Why?
But yes, maybe re-establishing some territory might be a good way to go. As for really big plans in this city, that is something I'll think about when I get to it. I hope that was clear enough.
Clear enough to help me get a better sense.
Yeah.
Now tell me, what's this I hear about revenants and having an issue here with them?
Okay, so my first night here in London, when I went to the Elysium, there was a big spectacle of a Lancashire Sanctum Deva, I think, that supposedly had been the cause for some revenants that had been causing mayhem due to their particular variation of our condition. A mutation, an aberration, whatever you want to call it. And they executed him and the revenants. Turns out, from what I've come across in the city, that there are probably still quite a bunch of them out there, probably using stuff like the sewer systems, the tube pipes, and so on, to get around, probably also to acquire their food. as loath as I am to talk of my once fellow man in that terms, but it is what it is. And apparently some of the Lancashire Sanctum were down in Kingston, and this is only what I overheard as well. Apparently there was also some problems there. Another reason I've got the feeling there is probably a problem with revenants. Well, if you think about it, London is one of the biggest cities in the UK. So if you have a big enough prey population, you will also have a big enough predator population. That's just classic biology for you. And I would guess that there is probably a certain amount in our population of kindred who are getting sloppy. Or, if nothing else, are probably statistically speaking, accidentally creating revenants more often than they should be. That is my guess.
Not solely as he listens.
And let's just say I've been able to overhear that the prince is sending out people to have a look at the situation, to gauge what is happening and what, who knows, maybe even try to come up with a solution. Obviously, you haven't heard the last piece of information from me. And he gives Nikolai a wink.
Out of character that the prince is saying out people?
Out of character, yes.
Yeah.
Out of character, he actually sent Marcus on a mission pertaining to that, but he's not that dumb.
Yep.
So he's not directly verbally involving himself here.
I see. Well, I must thank you for this information. Is there anything you would ask of me?
Well, I'm not good at beating around the bush, so let's just not. Since I am new to the city and I have found most Ordo members quite agreeable so far, I'm looking for people to, how should I say, ally myself? Or at least, show willingness to help out, one hand washing the other and stuff like that.
A research part alliance.
For example, that definitely would be welcome.
Or we took in more of the kinds partnerships.
To be fair, in certain aspects, I'd even be willing to be and the words, they come out of his mouth, but it's almost as if he has to strain himself. In certain aspects, I'd even be willing to be a junior partner.
Raises his eyebrow at that.
Out of character, if your guy knows anything about Ventrue, he probably had to strain himself because the beast was, we are not junior, we are senior.
Yeah. Perhaps, if you can get others to join this research group, this code reel, whatever you're planning on making, we'll take it into consideration.
I wasn't thinking of going that far yet. Basically, not daring to go that far yet and talk about coteries. If I remember correctly, that's the word for interest groups, isn't it? You know, banding together for a certain amount of autonomy and safety.
Why? Amongst other things. Whatever you plan, if you were looking for a simple friends or allies, I've given you my number. If it is something more, something different,
well, due to the delicate nature of our research, I haven't really been able to compare notes with that many people. So I would say in a month or so, I might be interested to compare notes. But something that you might be able to help me right now with is there are 2 core titles that I've come across, but I haven't been properly able to find out what function they have in the Kindred Society, in the Kindred Court Society. Maybe you can enlighten me on this.
perhaps. Go ahead and ask.
What is the function of a whip?
The whip is. How should I explain this? They are responsible to. The whip is a sort of the whip's responsibility, I guess you could say, is to keep the clan together. Keep each of the clans together and united in political issues. I guess you could say.
A bit like an enforcer in a biker gang. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Thank you.
You could say that. They're basically the ones who try to keep on major issues, try to keep everybody on the same page, while at the same time they are supposed to make sure that with local issues and smaller things, others can be heard. They are. Hold up. Let me see if I got the term right. 1 second.
Go for it.
Yeah. There's sort of, 1 second. They're sort of like a Priscus.
Funny that you mentioned that. That's the other term I came across, and I don't know what it means.
A Priscus. So, how the primogens represent the different covenants. Yes?
Yes. How, for example, our head represents the Order Dracul, the probably something like Archbishop of so-and-so represents the Lancair Sanctum, and so on and so forth.
Well, the Priscus are the representatives of the clan, the different clans. Opposed to the
covenants.
Aye. Where their whips are sort of a more physical form of them.
Okay.
The Priscus is the leader, the whip is the assistant.
For clan matters. Got you.
Right.
While the primogen is responsible for covenant matters. Quite simple, if you think about it. However, interesting.
May I ask why? May I ask where you came across these terms?
Some documentation that some other Ordo had let me have a quick read in. That happened between my fleeing my sire and ending up here in London.
I see.
Yeah. Mind you, I was most of the time pretty busy doing busybody work. But well, yeah, you know how it is when you're a slave at the beginning.
Yes.
Thank goodness that they don't have to go to the toilet. If not, I probably would have had to clean that out as well. But anyway, I earned myself my coil. And with that, I ended up here. Why asking? Because anyone who knows a little bit of strategy knows the following. Going into a field of operation without intel is suicide. That's basically what I'm doing. Gathering intel so that I've got a better overview of the situation here in London, and thus allowing me, for example, to find maybe an area that makes the most sense, maybe a borough that isn't overly dangerous or maybe suits my needs better. And then working my way to establish a base of operations.
I believe that is what we all are trying to do at the moment. I'm still living with my sire, unfortunately.
Well, obviously he lets you out of the haven at least once in a while. I hope.
He is aware that I am not, despite my youth in this matter, I'm well versed enough in the field that I can handle myself.
Yeah, I got thoroughly fed up of being constantly locked in. For crying out loud, I'm not an animal. And even that would be cruel. Don't get me wrong, I have a pet dog, but even I make sure that he gets plenty of exercise and isn't cooped up all the time.
I believe our relationship is a bit different from most sires and children, or most sires and their child.
Well, who knows? Who knows? Anyway, I got away and I have my freedom. That's good enough for me for the moment.
Aye.
Well, okay, good enough? No, but it's adequate enough for the moment.
Well then, I believe the words we've exchanged have been enough.
Agreed.
Stands up to shake his hand.
Yep, he shakes your hand and says, yeah, the museum will be closing soon anyway. Plus, I've got some other business to attend to. Thanks for humoring an old bag of bones like me.
Anytime, youngling.
Don't get too cocky. I've bested more fearsome things than you in my past. He smiles. He obviously doesn't mean it terribly aggressively.
Yeah.
And with that, we shall end our scene. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. See you next time.